Welcome
Yay.
back to All That Jam. I am joined today by Abigail and Jeremy from Bon Bon Vivant. Is that it? I'm not good with French, so.
Oui.
Okay. How we doing, guys?
Good. How you doing?
Very nice. Your management, your promotion people sent me an email. I had never heard of you guys before 2 weeks ago, and I've completely fallen in love with what you did. It's a little atmospheric. It has a lot of that New Orleans flavor, but it also has a little bit of a dark side to it, which I was really enjoying. Would you say that was fair?
Very fair. Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Very good. All right. So let's jump in with the origin. That's what that's always a good starting place, and let's see where it takes us.
Want to do this one?
Origin story. How about we rap back and forth, baby?
Cool.
Let's see. We started in New Orleans. The band formed in New Orleans in the French Quarter. We've been playing music together for 20 years, but this band formed in the French Quarter. We met a drummer, and he dragged his drums upstairs, and we started busking in the streets and moved our way to the venues and Frenchman Street and whatnot, and here we are.
Yeah. You know, it was really fun. So there's just so many great musicians of all kinds in New Orleans, and you know, going out on the street and playing a little bit kind of shows you who you are to the audience out there, and it's a fun way to spend an afternoon too. We still do it sometimes. And we got invited to play the Fringe Festival with a friend that is a drag artist. And so we ended up having to get a band together outside of just busking to do this Fringe Festival. And our amalgamation of, like you said, darkness, fun New Orleans spirited music, and Abby's songwriting kind of fit right into that show. And then people started asking when we were playing again, and we went, soon. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll find some permanent members.
Yeah. Hold on, let me go down Frenchman Street. I'll find a gig.
Right. Yeah. Hold on. Let me make a account on social media I can send you to follow me. That's the way it works. So that's fantastic. So Frenchman Street, I was saying before we went on, I love the Dream Palace. I used to go see like the Radiators there and a bunch of other things, but so many great little clubs there. You want to just talk a little bit about why that place, that little pocket is so cool. When you go 6-7 blocks over, you're in t-shirts and daiquiri shops, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, something about those. It's only about 3 blocks. And it's something about being able to go from bar to bar, just door to door, seeing incredible musicians that you can just spend your whole evening there, kind of seeing a set of 7 different bands all night. And it's some of the most talented people and true musicians, true artists. Mm-hmm. And we live in the neighborhood, so it makes it very easy to pull our wagon to work when we want to, or drive when it's not too busy. Yeah.
I think there's a neat thing. I used to go down for a little while, and it was before I knew kind of who he was. But I used to go down and see this piano player play old New Orleans R&B every Thursday at DBA, which is just a club right down the street on Frenchman Street. A guy named John Cleary. And I would just sit and drink a beer and watch him play by himself. And then we ended up at Bonnaroo or one of the larger festivals, and he was there with all the gentlemen. And it was just like, oh man, the local dude that hangs out on Frenchman Street on Thursday nights is here at this festival, and there's 5,000 people watching him. This is incredible. Right. Yeah. I mean,
I love
the level of musicianship is really special.
Yeah. I love John Cleary back 96, 97, 98. I did Jazz Fest every year for 9 years, and then I had kids, so that kind of quashed me going and raging for a week or 2 weeks. But every year I taped him at Jazz Fest. I used to sneak in my D8, and I had little stealth mics that went up to a hat. I have a lot of really good recordings, but he was always on my list to catch his set and record it there. I got Earl King. I got a bunch of the old guys, Ernie K. Doe, some of those. Some of those ones you missed. So in the beginning, when you started, were you doing all originals, or did it start out doing covers because you were busking and you had to put out the hat? And
you know, at first, so the reason that we started it was Abby's a writer. She's a consummate writer, so she's always writing songs. And And her and I are always kind of like go after she gets a song written, kind of like inventing them together and arranging them together. And because we had to play for so long, it took a little while to get a body of work together to, last the whole gig. At first you only got, 40 minutes of music and you got to be playing it for 3 hours. So we did have covers, and we touched on jazz and some Tom Waits stuff, and later on a little bit of Grateful Dead stuff. One we put on our Dancing in the Darkness album. We did Casey Jones on that album.
Okay.
And eventually we just, as Abby kept writing, we just kept like funneling covers out, and we kept waiting for the club owners to kind of raise an eye about, what we were playing, and because, going into the bar and just playing your own tunes for 3 hours sometimes scares people. And nobody ever said anything, and we just kept on doing it. And
people bought the second drink.
Yeah.
They bought the second drink. It was so good.
We're all right.
They bought this, and then, the bartenders would say over a few years in how much they liked us because it was different material than what
you weren't getting Mardi Gras Mambo for the 90th time.
That's right. Or trad jazz and funk, and it was all just like an amalgamation of all of that with Abby's stories. So
do those songs still show up? Like Gone, Gone, Gone stuck out to me from that. Dude, does that stuff still show up?
Yeah. We still do. The sets on Frenchman Street start at 3 hours. And so you got to have, and
we're doing all our albums. We're doing
that's it. We're doing every single song we know, and then a bunch of other people's songs we know. So, yeah.
The fun part, and I think because of the name of the show, the fun part of having old material that we still are really in love with and connected with is they change over time. So tunes that were kind of, maybe minor swing at first, then turned into rock tunes, turned into a Latin tunes, turned into, and you can kind of jam them out, and they have different incarnations over time. And it's fun. It's fun. Abigail is really patient with us boys continuing to bend the material around, and she with some rope lets us do that.
Right. I always like to think of a studio recording as the artifact, and then the song itself still lives and breathes while you're playing it live, and it will change over time. Dead and Company, Bobby changed the tempo so, you can't do a complete overhaul like that. People take to that as what happened to my Feel Like a Stranger kind of thing. Yeah. I told you I Paint Pageantry I couldn't find, but let me ask you, as you went from the first one to the second one, do you feel like the first one was a blueprint, or that it was just a starting point to what you're become today?
Those songs were kind of primitive I would say, compared to what we play together today. Our instrumentation sort of got solidified, I'd say, by Paint and Pageantry. So Evangeline was very much like a sketch, is sort of how a lot of more ballads on that album. And then as Paint and Pageantry came around, we sort of had our instrumentation, our band members, horn section, and some beats.
All right. Well, why don't we throw out the names of the rest of the band? Because we didn't do that at the top, and we want to make sure they get a shout out.
Yeah.
Who else you got in the band? I know your sister sometimes sings with
you. We've been calling ourselves a collective because truly in New Orleans, you play with who you've got for the gig sometimes, and that can be varying members, and it makes for a fun time when you have a guest trombone player because the other guy's got a gig. Right. But for our permanent drummer is Deacon Marquin, Grammy winner, and our trombone player, our main boy, is Ellis Seiberling, and then we've got Corey Tremontelli on the electric bass, and Jeremy Kelly on that saxophone, and Abigail Cosillo and Glory Cosillo when she wants to come and sing blood harmonies and shake a tambourine. That's the permanent outfit.
Right. Well, what I saw the one video with the trombone, was he a member? Did you guys decide to switch to the electric bass?
Oh, you mean
that, or was that a one-time thing?
Do you mean tuba?
Yeah, the sousaphone, not tuba. Yes. Because you explained there that you sit down to play one and you stand up to play the other.
John Philip Sousa. He was, making military music, so they had to march, and the sousaphone player. Yeah, in New Orleans, it fits in well. We do second line parades. Sometimes we do parades. And so having a sousaphone player, Ellis also plays the sousaphone. We had a sousaphone player for a lot of years. That was his main instrument, but we're not specifically a brass band. So we like to have some electric bass from time to time. We like to have upright bass. And so our first bass player was actually an upright bass player, Mike Robbins. Okay. And so we kind of, we're open to the interpretation of what the instrumentation brings.
There you go. There you go. Now, how much does it change the songs when you decide, all right, we're going to move to permanently having the electric bass? We aren't going to have, this other thing. Does it change the song much for the rest of you, or is it subtle?
It's pretty subtle. The sousaphone just holds more space in the mix. So it's just kind of like a bigger bass blanket, where electric bass is a little bit more nimble, and you can kind of jam out a little bit, and it's got a little bigger cut, and kind of provides a little bit more of a rock energy to it. So it's fun for Abby and I. When we just played a gig a couple of weekends ago, and Ellis played sousaphone instead of having a bass player, we figured it would just be fun to have him there. And yeah, it's a fun energy. It subtly changes kind of how the songs feel a little bit. The intensity level changes. It's fun.
So COVID happened in 2020. I know you released Dancing in the Darkness at the end of the year. What was life like in January 2020? What was life like come April for you? And how did it affect you guys as an artistic group, not being able to throw the stuff in the wagon and go down the street?
Yeah. We've been making an album it could take years. It has taken years. And so Dancing in the Darkness, we sort of had on schedule to release in 2020, and then COVID hit, and we were kind of thinking, well, this is the artifact, like you said, and we're okay with putting it out in these times, knowing that right behind it will be new material that we want to spend time developing, make a new album. And so we released it. New Orleans was a little bit interesting in its regulations. We had a lot of outdoor venues, a lot of opportunities to play outside with lots of social distancing. And one of the things we kind of dove right into was live streaming. And we made a whole community out of that, and Patreon. And we had a show we had a little show.
Every Sunday we did a live stream where we play music and make cocktails for people at home, and some of that kind of stuff. It was really interesting for us. We were on tour when all that happened. We were in Reno, actually, at playing a couple of dates. And that's when we started seeing hand sanitizer stuff come out. We were there in this one place for like 3 days playing every night. Right. And all of a sudden stuff started like appearing in the hotel we were staying at. And then a big snowstorm happened. And then we started getting all of these emails saying like the rest of the tour has been canceled. All the club promoters were like, uh-oh. And we ended up talking to the owner of this giant, kind of hotel casino, and saying like, we can't leave. We don't know where we would go. We can't drive back to New Orleans. We don't know what's going to happen. And she was like, okay, well, we only have a couple of suites available in the hotel. Why don't you guys camp out up there for a couple of days until the snow melts? And we just so we got up to the hotel room, and because we couldn't play our gig that night, and everybody started getting sequestered, we just turned on an iPhone and did a live stream for the first time in this hotel room. Nice. And we had so many people tune into it that all were coming to the gig that it was like, the beat goes on, and it kind of inspired us to continue to interact with people in that way.
Right. So some people really use their COVID well with the live streams. I can think of Goose and Billy Strings, both blew up after doing live streams in 2020. So I'm glad to see you guys embraced it there. I like the Sunday afternoon thing. Like the what did they call that? Fadudu? Isn't that what the agents call the afternoon Sunday thing? Let me ask you a little bit about your songwriting and your lyrics, because I feel like you have never fallen into the trap of bad, sad, glad, mad kind of thing. I mean, you have like the Jazz Axeman of New Orleans and the Bones, and all this stuff. I guess New Orleans has a million stories you can lean into and tell, huh?
Yes, truly. That's exactly it. It's a city that's so full of inspiration, and everywhere you look, it's ripe. And then I'm drawn to history. I like creepy stories, and I like telling other people's stories, and putting myself in different places in history to kind of tell a story. And the Jazz Axe, man, what a fascinating story. It's too good.
Serial killer. He was a serial killer for everyone who doesn't know.
Yeah.
New Orleans' most famous. Yeah.
Big proponent of jazz music. Huge,
early adopter.
But also was killing people with an axe. So people are complicated, like, so there's some good, some bad in everybody.
You're so good with a storyline, like Gone, 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 which I mentioned. Basically, it's a woman kills a guy who abducted her man, which is fantastic. Saints and Sinners. Is what God and the Devil hanging out talking in a bar. I mean, some of these are beautiful things.
We're really lucky in that as a band, we've got a bunch of jazz musicians, and the repertoire that all of us boys play often is, the American songbook and funk tunes and meters tunes and all of this stuff that you're gigging with, which is really fun, wonderful music to play. But anytime we travel anywhere with Abby, so Gone, Gone, Gone came about because we toured the underground in Portland, and they have a network of caves underneath Portland, and they used to Shanghai sailors for the opium trade. And so we go do this tour of this underground, have a couple of cocktails, and then as we're coming home, the story starts bubbling up on her guitar, and then Gone, Gone, Gone is born. And so anytime we take her anywhere, she intuits something from it, and it becomes a song.
There you go. That's beautiful. That's so fantastic. Because like I said, there's way too much glad, sad, mad, bad out there. Let's talk about the Bones a little, because I guess you guys are associated with Red Beans and Rice Parade. Is that what it's called? What crew is that?
The larger crew is called the Red Beans crew. And they're like a social aid and pleasure club here. Right. So they, they're bringing groceries to culture bearers during hurricanes. They're, working on music for schools. Right now, they've got a large kind of headquarters called Beanlandia, where they, Mardi Gras Indians come and build their costumes in some cases, and teach classes about culture,
community building.
Yeah. And we were a little more macabre the first time we marched in that parade, and so they started the crew of the Dead Beans that we ended up playing in, and so every year we end up parading in that, turning our 5-piece band into a 16-piece marching band and get to it.
Right. That's so
and Abigail writes a new song every year for that parade that ends up on our albums, and so we've got a bunch of parade songs now.
The Bones was written the first year I paraded just as a person, as a participant, as a crew member. Right. The first year by myself with Jeremy and our friends who formed the crew. And I just was blown away at the beauty of being a New Orleanian in our lives, and just the community that comes together with the strange, fascinating things that they get into. These costumes are hand beamed and, themed, and they're modeled after Mardi Gras Indian process, and just kind of a beautiful tradition everywhere. And
what was the song this year called?
This last year, let's see.
The Dead Royals?
Dead Royals, maybe?
Yeah.
One year they did a baseball theme, and I had nothing to say about it.
I hear you. One of the tunes that we're recording now, Dead Royals, she wrote for the parade, and it's you can talk about it better than I can, but from me hearing you, it's a comment on people could take care of themselves maybe a little bit better than the royalty we've got. I don't know if that makes sense. You should say it.
Yeah. About egalitarian. Yeah.
I love that you write a new song. It reminds me of Ed from the Rads used to do Mom's Ball every year, and he would write them their own little song every year. Yeah. But it was something like Void Where Not Prohibited, or Gum in Your Nub. I mean, some of the songs. Sick Puppy one year. You aren't no yuppie, you're a sick puppy. Oh.
Yeah, that tracks
Hey,
mom's spot here.
that's fantastic. It's like I've lived that life.
Yeah.
You did a Christmas song.
We did. It was a funny, Jeremy. We went on a morning show with a sweet host in town. He's a local celebrity. We love him, Malik. And Jeremy on the air said that we were thinking of writing a Christmas song. And he said it into the microphone and it went into the airwaves. And so we had to write a Christmas song.
Yeah, I think Malik in the interview, because it was around Christmas time, was like, "Hey, would you ever think about playing or writing a Christmas song?" And I just like looked over and was like, "Yeah, she's working on one right now." And then in the car on the way home, she's like, "Oh my gosh, I got to go write a Christmas song."
He's very persuasive.
Well, I mean, I think that you took an interesting way on it,
Thank you.
opposed to, it's called That Old Christmas Song. So you're
I was sort of presenting I was like, okay, a meta experience of writing a song about your favorite Christmas songs.
Right.
Safer. Exactly. It was safer than trying to even approach the issue of writing a Christmas song.
Right. Yeah. Right. Now, since then you had Lady Luck came out, you had If I Ever Cease to Love You, Last Night's Glitter. Are all of them going to be on the new album, or are they going to just live as singles out there?
There'll be singles. If I Ever Cease to Love was just a 2-song EP we made. Okay. It was kind of a flip side. The song "Be By You."
A true single. They call single songs singles these days. I'm like, it's not a single without a B-side.
That's right. That's right. So we did a B-side was the song called "Mardi Gras After You're Gone." It's a melancholy. It's the dark to the light, and the light would be a song called "Be By You." That was a pun. That was one of the parade names of the Red Beans that I took their theme and wrote a song. So that was, we were kind of starting to release singles because it's a strange time to release albums because people consume singles and they don't necessarily focus on the entirety of an album anymore. And our point is to be present in music. And so sometimes singles is the way to go. But we're excited to put out a body of work this time in our album coming out in the fall. So
I've known bands that have released their whole album one a month as singles just to keep their name out there. And then the 11th month they release the album. So you got a whole year out of it.
That's it.
Yeah. So Sin Eater. Tell me about Sin Eater. This is a really sexy, great song. What's the story behind it? And
Yeah, it's some of the songs stew for a while. And I'm an experiential writer, so I got to go live and travel and read and write, and then I can kind of feel storylines getting built. And sin eating was this ritual I learned about, really fascinating. I'd never heard about it, but I grew up in a deeply religious household, so I was intrigued. And sin eating. Basically this tradition that's been going on for hundreds of years, and it looks like it started in the Welsh community, if the websites are right. If the internet is correct, which it isn't, but who knows. I encourage people to do their own Googling because I'm a musician, not a historian. But yeah, sin eating, this beautiful tradition that you would call your local sin eater when someone you love died and you want to absolve them of their sins. You'd bring the sin eater who was in your neighborhood, in your town. He kind of was like an outcast commonly, and he'd come over and he would eat bread or cake. They called them death cakes, which that's an adorable word. And you would drink beer and eat this bread and symbolically absolve your loved one of their sins. And the sin eater commonly died young, and he was shunned, but he had a calling that was self-sacrificial. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of just a beautiful thing that this job was just something somebody knew they had to do, and it was for their fellow man. And I sort of interpret that into a love song because I believe that's what we do for people we love, romantic or otherwise. You sacrifice yourself when you can. And so, but then I wrote it during October when there was a lot of horror movies on the television, and I tapped into my Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Okay, that's fascinating, because I was going to say that it had an almost theatrical, cinematic quality to it, the recording of it, and maybe some of it stems from watching the Halloween movies.
Yeah. Psycho, and I almost put a reference to the wolf from Pulp Fiction, but I was like, that might be just a little too weird. Harvey Keitel. So yeah.
God bless him. The production value on the track is fantastic. You want to talk a little bit about where you recorded it and how you arrived at the final mix?
Yeah, we ended up doing a string of videos that are up on YouTube right now at the Salem Grand Theater, kind of on a whim. They had a cancellation. And I don't know, for us, it seems like everything that we do well happens on accident. I don't know why that is, but when we plan it, it fails colossally, and then something great happens on accident.
This is the way.
Yeah. And we've grown to rely on that in some weird way. But so there was a cancellation at this theater. We ended up going in there and recording 3 songs, and Sin Eater was a new one for all of us at that time, and we were all experimenting with new pedal boards and how we were going to interpret the intensity of this love story. And Abby kept encouraging us to bite down into it a little bit. This is a love song about loving someone so much that you would absolve them, you would absorb their sins for them if you could. And so when we did the live track, there was a guy that we met there, Stan Keatley from Vegetative State. He lives in Salem. He came just to record the live audio, and he did such a great job at recording us live. I turned around and I was like, do you want to mix this? And then if you say yes to that, would you help us make our next album? And he jumped in. So we recorded the studio, drums and bass here with Goat at House of 1,000 Hertz. Goat's a kind of a well-known, very quirky figure in New Orleans that records a lot of great, Maceo Parker. And we got lucky enough to get some of his time. And then we recorded everything else with Stan, and Stan mixed it and mastered it. And I'm really... It's funny because he spends a lot of time with shoegaze, alt rock, metal bands in the Pacific Northwest. Okay. And to get his fingerprint on what we do from New Orleans was a really neat marriage, we thought. And so he's going to be doing the rest of the album with us too.
Right now, when is the album going to be done?
October.
That's when I leave immediately.
October. He's leaving. I know. He's afraid of commitment. Just kidding. No, we're doing the rollout similar to what you described. We're doing a single release every, don't quote me, but 6 weeks, every 6 weeks, a single. So we just put Sin Eater out. We have another one coming out in July, a song called what?
Yeah, July 4th.
July 4th, 4th of July. It's called Here We Go. It's a song about getting into adventures with your friends, because that's what the 4th of July hopefully is all about.
Hopefully the fireworks are going off.
That's right.
You're doing a video, right, for Sin Eater? Is that tomorrow?
Yes,
comes out tomorrow.
Yes, yeah.
That's another fun story. And I'll make it quick, but
take your time.
Again, accidental awesome a little bit with kind of Abby's talents. She does video editing and because conceptually I think the way that you write leads itself to video and storyline and visuals. We ended up grabbing a friend because our drummer in the kitchen on tour was like, we have to have a video for the new single. We haven't put out a single in a while. There's got to be a video. And so then we said to our manager, do we need a video? She said, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. So Abigail came up with a really neat concept for it. I won't give it away. But we had a friend walk through the French Quarter with us to kind of tell this little storyline about the Sin Eater and
bar culture.
Bar culture in New Orleans, and the kind of the thin veil in New Orleans between, celebrating and darkness and how they live together here, kind of. And, unfortunately we got all this footage and she's looking through the footage and I was like, I don't know how you're going to turn this into something. This is going to be a really strange video. And over the course of a couple of weeks, she really found a narrative and made a really cool piece of art. So I'm super excited about it. I think it's really neat.
Yeah.
Right.
Thanks.
How much does that kind of planning go into your live shows?
Wow, that's a good question. I mean, as far as I guess live shows, as far as the gig and the set list, that might that might be it.
All right, so let's talk about the set list. You have a bunch of albums. Obviously, you said when you're in New Orleans, you're playing everything. Let's say you're up in Nevada again or something like that, and you're not having to do a 3-hour set. How do you whittle it down to, say, an hour?
Yeah, that's a good question. We like to have moments. We have a lot of high energy songs, and in fact, some people, our friends near and dear, have even called us a party band, which never really sat with me because I like to tell stories and I like to listen. And the music I pursue tends to be more storylines and lyrics and maybe even just songwriter kind of stuff. But so we make moments for that stuff in the middle. If we have a sunset, we're definitely going to play a ballad. If we're outside, but mostly we do like to kind of, I guess take them on a little journey. We talk a lot about New Orleans while we're touring because a lot of the songs are of our lives here in New Orleans, but we travel a lot as well. And so,
there's usually
go ahead.
Well, I was going to say there's usually a story arc to the set list. That's kind of fun, unless you're at the festival playing for 45 minutes and then you just let it go and jam out as hard as you can. And
what are the hits?
What are the hits? Let's see. Well, you brought up the Bones. That tends to be one that, we play for a lot of new audiences, especially on our summer tours. We're leaving in about a week, and we'll just play for mostly new audiences who've never seen us or heard us, and we're original music, and that can go, either way. But the Bones tends to be one that cuts through every single time. They love it, and we love it, and it's just got a movement that I think maybe organically everybody can relate to. Right.
Yeah. And last night's Glitter is a fun one about, just kind of the way we get to live here. Lady Luck is a great one. Here We Go, I'm excited about.
Yeah.
That's gone over really well with audiences, and I'm excited to put it out. And then Sin Eater has been a fun one.
Yeah, we're trying to play the new ones.
Yeah, definitely. I there's this unwritten rule in the jam band world that you can't repeat set list night to night. And I was talking to the bass player for Humphreys McGee, and he's like, "That sucks." He's like, "We write a new song, we want to play it every night for a couple of weeks. It's our new toy."
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't get that.
We get that way on the road a little bit for sure, especially when we're playing for, an hour and a half at a time. The set list will change a lot. And then there'll be some where we just kind of feel like calling tunes and hanging out and not worry so much about what we're going to play, but just how we play it.
Right. And let the room tell you what it wants.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. I mean, when we're playing, sometimes we do sort of a city's concert series, and that can be like, 4 to 6 in a town hall area, and people are bringing their chairs and they're sitting in the sun. And so you think, okay, I'm going to play music that feels good to that kind of setting. But then if you're playing the 11 o'clock at a bar in Portland, that's going to be a different, or the Boom Boom Room in San Francisco, you're like, we're going to keep asses shaking.
God bless the Boom Boom Room.
I love that place.
I was talking to Michael Arnone, who does a crawfish festival in New Jersey that's pretty huge, pretty famous. And he was telling me how all the New Orleans artists, their riders always say no New Orleans food. Do you have that in your rider?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You're
not going to do it right.
We always try to get people to come, like they want us to try their version of New Orleans food.
Check my jambalaya out now.
Yeah. Yeah. You go to Canada and you get poutine. You go to California, you get Mexican food. Yeah. And so trying to feed us gumbo every night in your way, I don't know. We get it.
Right. If I'm in Chicago, I want an Italian beef or deep dish. I don't want New Orleans food.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah. And where are you located? Where are you
I live in Baltimore. I live outside of Baltimore.
Baltimore.
Okay. We thought
Baltimore. Water. I say water.
Yeah. We many years ago we played a little club in Baltimore, which was really fun. And I'm trying to remember the name of it.
Shoot, we did
8 by 10 maybe, or
Could have been.
Man.
It was a dark little proper punk rocky good vibe.
It was a dirty little bar.
Dirty little bar, and we had a ton of fun.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. It probably wasn't the 8x10 then, because the 8x10, the original, closed down, and then they reopened it and dumped millions of dollars into it.
Oh.
This
ruined the whole vibe. No, they didn't ruin it. Opening night, they had Chuck Berry play, so I got to see Chuck Berry.
That's killer.
And it was fantastic. He pulled up front in his car, called into the office, like he could like look at the ticket window there, and he's like, transfer the money. Once the money was in his bank account, he got out of the car, came in, played his hour, walked off, said $5,000 for an encore. And the owner was like, nah, man, we're cool. Because we had John Grow and George Porter playing after him. So he was like, no, we're good. And he hopped in his car, drove off. It was the craziest thing ever.
Wow.
Man, we'll have to figure that one out.
5,000 for an encore.
Show up in the bus and immediately call the money people and figure it out.
All right, transfer the money. And it was great. The band that backed him up, he sent him a list of 50 songs and said, know these. And he walked on stage and just started calling songs. But I mean, a Chuck Berry song, Little 16 and Johnny Be Good and Promised Land are all basically the same song.
Yeah, you got a lot of blues roots there that you can kind of hang out with.
Right.
He was fantastic. It feels like Sin Eater's a turning point for you. And you got the tour coming up. Where are you going on the tour? What shows can you say? Has everything been announced? We're going to put links in the bottom so people can find out where you're going.
Yeah, we're doing this weekend to kind of kick it off. We're doing Huntsville and Chattanooga. And then we fly out to the Bay Area, and we're going to be at the Boom Boom Room, Davis Music Festival, a really cool little place in San Jose, Art Boutique, that we really like. We just kind of like crushed on it. And so no matter how small the room is, we just keep playing that place and love it.
Great venue.
And then we're kind of up in the Pacific Northwest until August.
A little bit of Idaho.
Yeah.
Pendleton.
Nevada.
Idaho, Pendleton. And then Washington and Oregon for most of the summer. Oregon Country Fair. Have you ever been to this?
I have not, but I have seen the Grateful Dead movie from 72. I guess that was a creamery. Same thing now. I mean,
the Ken Kesey family, exactly. Right. It's like part of the Dead lore, and it's been going on for 51 years because they had something to do with saving the land, and so.
Right. And you guys are playing there this summer?
Yeah. We've done it 3 years in a row now, and the first time we got an email from them. The email says Oregon Country Fair. And although like I'm not opposed to doing that at all, but I'm thinking, corn dogs and deep fried Twinkies and, a rodeo. And so I was like, I don't know if we fit in this, for the country fair vibe, I don't know if we're quite right for that. And then Drea sent us pictures of what the vibe is. And it's more of a mushroom soaked Renaissance fair of madness. Theater. And immediately we went, yes, we'll do it.
Vaudeville.
We don't care what the details are. Yes. And we will camp there all 4 days. And yes, we will be there.
We just buy in. It's delightful.
Yeah.
Right. You have a really unique guitar sound to me. Can you throw out a couple of your influences or how you arrived at it?
Well, thank you. I've always been a little bit intimidated because all the reasons, but as of late, I sort of got comfortable being me. So thank you for saying that. Let's see some influences. I think one, when I heard some live recordings of how Shaky Graves made some sounds with his guitar, where he played with that, the resonance and kind of started almost letting it go out and wild, and then he'd pull it back. And I really appreciated that. I've always been a confident rhythm guitar player. I have, unfortunately, no interest in being a lead guitar player. I have horn players for that. So I like to hold down the fort with some solid rhythm. I just got a Duesenberg that I've a new guitar, Duesenberg. I've had it about a year, and I love it. And that was a brand I didn't know about before I found this guitar, and it seems to be people are coming up to mention it.
Right, it's now yours.
Yeah,
I was going to say the way you two play off of each other too. I guess you being the lead instrument there.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, I end up kind of filling lead guitar role a little bit.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
fantastic. I mean, I guess that's just developed over all these years, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, it's been neat to see, you know, Abby start as a singer-songwriter idea into stuff that's a little bit more funky that moves outside of that into now electric guitar. And I think all the intricate work that she's able to do while singing as it translates over to electric guitar is really, really cool. It's just a little bit a bigger sound and there's a lot of movement.
And the way she strums. We're going to talk about you like you're sitting.
No, I don't mind.
Yeah.
You're sweet. That's but yeah, that's something that people mention to me a lot. My dad taught me how to play guitar, and he never used a pick. And
Right.
you know, he's Texas and plays acoustic guitar, and so I just never got the pick game going. And now I'm sort of confidently unchangeable.
Well, before I let you go, playing with your sister, what's that like? I guess that's I mean, you guys are pretty close in age, right?
Yeah,
Couple
she's
years or
only
something?
18 months. We're all there's 5 kids, and we're all kind of Irish twins. Boom, 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 boom. And but yeah, we came up singing together. My dad was the music leader of the church we grew up in. That's where we got all our free music education. Thank you, church.
Mhm.
And so she's an incredible singer. She kind of got the singing first. And then I picked it up, and she can harmonize. The Boswell sisters, they're a New Orleans act, and they do that blood harmony 3-part. That's just so, if you isolate one of their notes, you'd say it was almost out sometimes, but it blends so beautifully. And she kind of has taken on that sort of approach to harmonizing. And so she was in the band solidly for a good couple of years in there, but life takes you to other places and other states. And she moved to Houston with her husband because she loves him. And she gets to join us when she can, but it's always, I mean, there's nothing like singing with your sister. So,
Right.
depending
She was at Jazz Fest, right? With you?
Yep, she comes to Jazz Fest. I would say, with all due respect, she comes to the big gigs. She comes to the big ones that, we really want to show the length. We kind of have a lot of alternate approaches. He and I are married, and we can do a duo set. And sometimes we do. And then other times we do a more acoustic set where my sister comes and we play acoustic guitars with an upright bass. And other times it's electric. It's a big electric outfit. So it's kind of an adaptable thing. And she's always invited.
There you go. Is it crazy being married and working together, basically? I guess your two are never apart.
We're always, from tiny little vans to hotel rooms to venues to sound checks to it's funny. Sometimes we get back home to New Orleans after being on the road for 3 months, and we give each other a big hug for a job well done, and then I'll go to our little studio and stay there for 3 days by myself, and she'll stay at the house with the cats for 3 days, just as like a unwinding.
Yeah.
Right, clean your palate. You're cleaning
That's
your
right.
palate there.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I think that's so fantastic. I mean, I have an ex-wife, so I couldn't imagine having to live with her and work with her, but that's another story.
I want to hear it.
Yeah, right. Do tell. The fun part is you end up getting to know somebody in so many different facets that way. And we're both strong personalities, so there's plenty of locking horns. And I don't know, there's something really neat about like the inevitability of I didn't do the dishes, or I've been late for something, and we're all frustrated, and you get to the gig and start singing songs to each other's faces, and it kind of washes away whatever problem you had. You're doing your thing that means something to you, and then you go home from the gig going like, oh, that's fine. I don't really care about that. I don't know why I was so
I'm okay now. I'm fine.
Is there ever a disconnect for you? Do you tape? Do you record your gigs?
Some of them, yes. Yeah.
Is there ever a disconnect with what you felt when you walked off stage, and 2 weeks later, if you listen to it?
Totally. That we were just talking about that it feels like you time travel when you think, oh, that song was, the crowd wasn't getting it, or the song was too fast. And then you watch it, or you listen to it and you think, that was fine. What was I in my head about? And
you nailed it.
Yeah.
I realized that all of my perceptions are totally unreliable. I actually have no idea what's going on. Songs will feel too slow, and I'll be like, speed it up, and the drummer will, and then I listen to it, and I go like, I just made that way too fast for no reason.
Right. It's a punk rock song all of a sudden.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Oh man, I love it. Anything you guys want to throw out before we wrap up?
Let's see. We got, you mentioned all the great stuff we got coming up. So thank you. We're getting better at this business thing where you're supposed to tell about what you're making. And we got the video tomorrow releases, and then we're on tour this summer. So
Right. Where are we finding you on social media? What's your preferred platforms?
Well, I think we do our best on Instagram because but then our new website, we just got a new website that is
bonbonvivantmusic.com. bonbonvivantmusic.com. And you'll be able to see the video there, also on YouTube. And it comes out tomorrow, and you're gonna get to see the Sin Eater dance around with all of his shenanigans.
Do you guys have physical media, T-shirts and stuff? I know Bandcamp. You guys are on Bandcamp. Someone could throw you a couple bucks there, but do you have physical copies of any of your releases?
Yeah, the whole store is on the website. So you can pop over to the website and check out all the stuff. Abby makes handmade tie-dye, all kinds of merch that she makes by hand.
Do you have one that says Bones or something?
Oh, that's a good idea.
We should.
I like the silk screen.
If that's the hit song, you might want to have a couple at the table.
It's a good idea.
Absolutely love it. All right, hold on for a second after I end the stream because I want to make sure that it's cloud-based. So I want to make sure I capture the whole recording. Everybody out there watching, make sure you like and subscribe. Find us on social media. And remember, stay beautiful, but don't stay underground too long. We'll see you soon.